Nobody is noticing this about the Golden State Warriors young core. Now, obviously, the Warriors young core has been talked about a lot more, and a lot of that is because of the recent play of Jonathan Kuminga, and especially because of Brandon Podziemski. But essentially, the Warriors young core is way ahead of schedule. I don't really see anybody talking about these things because, let's be honest, right? The Warriors this season, they didn't really have, Brandon Podziemski or Trayce Jackson-Davis in mind with this team's rotation. I don't think Steve Kerr or really Mike Dunleavy or really much of the coaching staff thought that they would be in the rotation at all. And the fact that, Pods has contributed as much as he has and has been as good as he has in just so many different areas. I mean, it's been insane. I didn't expect this. And I had seen some GM surveys before the season about specifically, who might win Rookie of the Year. And with Podziemski, there was a lot of GMs and just front office people that thought that Podziemski was a steal of the draft. And I was like, that's really interesting, right? Like, I didn't know that much about Podziemski before the Warriors drafted him. And I was like, okay, maybe he's going to be pretty good. But, he really struggled shooting the ball in Summer League. He obviously, could play some defense and get rebounds. But I was still a little bit concerned. So when he ended up getting the playing time that he did, right, once, Chris Paul and Gary Payton had their injuries and Draymond was suspended, and I was impressed. I was like, wow, he can really, really play. So we got to think about that first for a second, right? The fact that Podziemski is as good as he is, he wasn't even supposed to get playing time this season. The Warriors drafted him in mind for, future plans, that he wasn't going to play for at least another, season or two, right? Same thing with Trayce Jackson-Davis. And that's a big thing. This young core is way ahead of schedule. That even though Moody and Kuminga were supposed to, kind of have a significant role anyways, Podziemski and Trayce Jackson-Davis weren't, right? They really weren't supposed to have a big role at all. So the fact that they've played such, a significant part in the Warriors season so far is quite astonishing to me. And I'm not saying I'm too surprised by it. Obviously, I'm impressed, and obviously, we could see in the Summer League that these guys had skill, but just with all the vets in this team, like I said, with, Moody and Kuminga expected to take those leaps and, step up in those kind of backup roles, it's been really unexpected the way Podziemski and Trayce Jackson-Davis have both played. But yeah, I want to touch on these, rookie vets, as I would call them, right? Because Podziemski, he was a 2-year college player. Trayce Jackson-Davis, he was a 4-year college player. But yeah, with Podziemski, man, his charges taken. He is leading the league in drawn charges at the All-Star break. 26 charges already. This is his rookie season, and, we're about 52 games in. That basically means he takes a charge, right? Every 2 games. And even then, there's been multiple games where he's had, 2 charges in one game. And it's crazy. He just knows where to be. And I think when you have a guy that young that's taking that many charges, his IQ is just off the charts. And obviously it helps that he's learning, from Steph Curry and Draymond Green in that, area, right? But the thing is, this obviously means that Podziemski, he watches a lot of film. He does a lot of studying outside of the court. He's working with, a coach one-on-one. He's watching a lot of film. He's watching the tendencies of other players because it seems like he's always in the right spot to take a charge. Now, most of the time when he takes a charge, it's not a block. It's an actual charge, and the Warriors getting the ball, and he's getting another possession for them, right? So, because I think towards the beginning of the season, right, Podziemski was still adjusting, taking charges, and, doing all that stuff. But now, pretty much every time he tries to take a charge, he's pretty much getting a charge. And that's extremely impressive for a rookie. This young, coming to a Warriors system, coming into a place where he really wasn't expected to play at all his rookie season, and doing this, it is really impressive. And obviously, I could talk about other things, with his three-point shooting, just with his shot making, with his defense, with his rebound. I mean, everything. He has just been so good. It's really hard to pinpoint a weakness of his this season. I mean, maybe the only thing would be his size. I mean, obviously I wish he was a little bit taller, that he could, play both forward positions too. But even then, he plays a lot bigger than he is, and he has a lot of heart. Then I want to talk about Trayce Jackson-Davis's professionalism. He's been inconsistently, kind of in and out of the rotation here and there, but he stayed so professional, man. Every time he comes in, every time Steve Kerr, decides to put him in the game, usually, in the second half, third or fourth quarter as of late, he has just been so good. I mean, just his energy, his ability to give the Warriors a little lob threat. He's pretty good defensively as well, but overall, his screen setting, his rolling, having a shot blocking presence out there, having somebody, a center of that height that can not only guard center positions, but can step out and, guard guards as well. Really, really big thing. I mean, he plays like a vet. He's been an excellent backup center this year. Obviously, though, now he's kind of playing behind both Dario Saric and Kevon Looney, but his professionalism has just been excellent. He's been so good, like I said, rebounding, rolling to the rim, setting screens. He's been much needed in those limited minutes, and he's come up big in a few of, the Warriors' biggest wins throughout this season. So shout out to both of these, what I would call rookie vets. They've been excellent. Like I said, they weren't even supposed to be getting playing time this year, and I don't see anybody talking about that. Like, they weren't supposed to be even in the rotation, and now Podziemski is starting alongside Steph and Draymond. So it's just really cool, man. And I had to, give some time to talk about Podziemski and Trayce Jackson-Davis. But also another thing, like Kuminga, he was supposed to be kind of a bench role player. Like, he is taking, the next step way ahead of schedule. Like, obviously, Kuminga was supposed to have a bigger role, but now that he's kind of stepped into being the Warriors, second leading scorer this year, like, I don't think anybody would expect that. That was supposed to be, either the job of Clay or Andrew Wiggins, but, like, dang, Kuminga has stepped up big time. I mean, I've talked about him, in my last video, so I'm not going to touch on too much, at least, with this game. But yeah, obviously the defense has been there. He's switched more to attacking the basket, getting to the free throw line. He's been so good at picking his spots well. His post game's been good. The mid-range game, everything, man. He's been so good on the offensive end. But the main thing is he's being a better decision maker, and he's picking his spots extremely well. And he's pretty much just only attacking the rim and playing to his strengths in that area, and that has been a huge thing. And now, like I said, obviously defense has been there for the past few years. His shot blocking has been a lot better, at least the timing. So yeah, Kuminga's been excellent. He's going to be a big part of the Warriors' future, I have to imagine, along with Podziemski. So, and that's the thing with Kuminga. He wasn't even supposed to have as big of a role as he's having. He wasn't even supposed to be starting, for that matter. And now, he's playing upwards of 25 to 30 minutes a game. And like I said, pretty much being that second leading scorer, even though statistically he's not, because obviously, Clay is still the second leading scorer on this team. But in reality, Kuminga is really the Warriors' second leading scorer. It's been that way for the past few months, and still very unexpected. And like I said, nobody is really talking about that he wasn't even supposed to be at this level going into this season. Another thing, though, I want to touch on, and, I wouldn't say this has been something that's been ahead of schedule, but it's been Moody's playing time, because honestly, I thought Moody was going to have, a lot more playing time. I thought he was going to have a bigger role on this team. Now, obviously, the injury didn't help, but even then, since he's come back, Steve Kerr hasn't really been going with him that much. Quinones has been getting the playing time, which I will touch on Quinones in a little bit. Quinones has been excellent as well, and I don't want to take that away from him, but just Moody, he's been getting the shaft every single time certain guys come back from injury. Like I said, like Gary Payton II, Moody hasn't gotten as many minutes since GP has come back, which obviously GP has played excellent, but Moody should really be in the rotation, and that's been something that's been just really bothering me, because I'm like, man, like, Moody could help out this team so much. He's been playing so well the past few playoffs. So that's been another thing. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Moses Moody's role and just really his future with the Warriors. I mean, you can look at his stats up on the screen, right? 8 points a game. The three-point percentage has dipped a little bit. And so I just don't know what his long-term future is. I mean, the thing is, though, Steve Kerr likes going with him in the playoffs. So I have to imagine, he'll be getting playing time in the playoffs. And, that I also think that depends on if Quinones' contract is converted to a standard contract from a two-way. But I've also just been really confused about Moody's role. But the last guy I want to touch on in this young core is Lester Quinones. Man, he has just been excellent. I mean, he stepped in when the Warriors had some injuries on their last road trip, and he was making a bunch of threes. His perimeter defense is awesome. He made a half-court shot against the Atlanta Hawks. So he's kind of been playing what Moses Moody's role was supposed to be. So I think that's why Steve Kerr was kind of going with him at first, even though, Moody came back, like I said, prior about like 4 or 5 games ago. He was kind of going with Quinones more because Quinones was kind of playing that role that Moody was supposed to fill. And so that kind of makes sense, right? Like, I don't want to sit here and just automatically take, Quinones' minutes away or anything like that. But you got to understand, like, Moody is technically the guy that's supposed to have those minutes, and Moody's on a standard contract, and Quinones is on a two-way. But Quinones has still played really well in limited minutes, gave the Warriors some great energy. He's been great in the defensive end. His shot making's been excellent too. And just his confidence and swagger, man, absolutely love that about him. So, yeah, all the Warriors young core been really good this year. Really solid overall. Like I said, Moody, though, has been getting the shaft on some of his minutes, and just really unfortunate. I hope he can perform better and get in the rotation more. But yeah, that's what I wanted to point out about the Warriors young core, because nobody's really noticing it. I don't really think anybody's talking about this, that like they weren't supposed to be this good. Like, they weren't supposed to have this big of a role in the season. Like I said, even though Moody and Kuminga, were supposed to have a big role, like Pods and Trayce Jackson-Davis weren't, right? Like, Kuminga wasn't supposed to be starting. So that's been one thing that I want to point out, and it's been awesome watching this Warriors young core. Podziemski and Kuminga specifically should be a big part of the Warriors' future. They've been playing awesome, and I hope they continue to start and be a big part of what can hopefully be another Warriors playoff run. We will see. They've been better as of late. So yeah, like I said, we will see. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.